Hi everyone, my name is Megan Clark and I am a freelance copywriter and content marketing specialist. And in today's video, I am going to be walking you through 5 of my favorite writing tools that I use, if not every time I write content, at least most of the time as I'm writing content. As you're writing for your business, it is so helpful to have tools in your arsenal that you can draw upon to make sure that your writing is optimized for your audience, from everything from the headlines to making sure that your language is not overly using adverbs or passive voice, for example. And so that's why I included these tools, because these are some of my favorite that I use on a regular basis, day-to-day basis, if not every time I'm writing content. I would be nowhere as a full-time writer without the tools that I use to help get me from point A to point B. And so that is kind of how I put together this list. I have a lot of tools that I love, but these 5 are ones that I'm using really frequently and wanted to share them with you so that you could experience some of my favorite tools as well. So let's get started in sharing my 5 favorite tools. Okay, so the first tool that I'm going to mention to you is probably one that you might not expect. Capitalize my title. You'd be surprised by how often I type up a title thinking that it is capitalized accurately, and then I navigate or find my way to the capitalizemytitle.com, and it turns out the word to or for or a is wrong and should or shouldn't be capitalized. And the fun thing about this Capitalize My Title tool is you can really customize by the style book or the edition that you are hoping to use, like email title capitalization, APA. And what you pretty much do is type your title right into the tool here, and it's going to capitalize it as you type. So, why puppies are amazing. Awesome, or 10 reasons why puppies are awesome. And then boom, you've got the properly capitalized title that you can copy and paste and use that for your next blog post, email, anything along those lines, just to ensure that your title capitalization is correct, which you'd be surprised by how often that happens. The second tool that I absolutely love, kind of speaking of titles, speaking of headlines, is the CoSchedule's Headline Analyzer. They do have a premium version of this tool, but I just use their free option. It works for me, as you can see. I've done a few analyzings of puppies here, why I love puppies and why you should too. It gives you a headline score out of 100. So the higher it is, the better it is. It'll kind of show different color schemes depending on how strong that headline is. Then it's going to go into a little bit of an analysis on word balance. So what words, for example, love is a word that's more of a power word, which they recommend that you have at least one power word or phrase in there, as well as potentially some uncommon versus common words, emotional words versus unemotional. It's also going to give you a little bit of a breakdown, as you can see here, on word count, character count, type, sentiment. Is it scream positive? Does it scream neutral? As well as clarity. Is it a confusing title? As well as grade level, which another tool I will talk about in a minute is going to go into a little bit of depth on grade level as well. But all of this is really helpful. It even includes things like skimmability. So what someone is, what are they going to read first, which is typically the front and the back end of your headline. And so puppies here, as you can see, which is the main topic of this headline, is in the center. So that might be something I would want to think about, maybe putting puppies more front and center to make that a little bit more clear as to what my title is. If you do upgrade you get more kind of like SEO boosting functionality so that you can get a better sense for how does your headline optimize when it comes to search engine optimization, which could be helpful. I tend to, that's knowing that how it ranks from an SEO perspective is super helpful, but I'll just tend to type it into Google myself and kind of see how that's going to compete and what other search topics are coming up based on that. Okay, my next favorite tool that I'm going to show you is called Hemingway App, or HemingwayApp.com. Honestly, I'm not even kidding you. I use this app every single time I write any piece of content, because it tracks for multiple things. This is their sample text that they have right in there, which I'm going to use just because I think it's helpful to show just what they're offering and what they're going to advise you on in terms of edits to your content. For example, they flag adverbs for you. Ideally, depending on the length of your text, you have a very limited amount of adverbs because they don't tend to add a lot to a sentence. They tend to be more fluffy language as opposed to concrete. And so it's going to highlight adverbs and recommend that you omit them, like getting rid of the word perhaps in that sentence, or helpfully, just because those aren't adding much to the sentence. And then now you can see we have some green popping up here, which indicates the use of passive voice. And so this is super helpful. I'll always, every time I pop something in here, I'll think that I have done a really great job with active voice, and I'll always have a few passive voice verb tenses thrown in there that I want to make sure I'm going in and where it makes sense, correcting to be more of an active voice. Like adverbs and weakening phrases are shown in blue. You could say something like adverbs and weakening phrases are in blue. Something like that, where you're going in and just being like, we don't need to have the word shown, it's passive, let's make that more active. This is why I love typing it directly into this tool, because I'll catch myself using passive voice all the time. And then another thing they're really great at, and I love, is showing where you can potentially have a simpler alternative. I'm always a big proponent of the simpler the better when it comes to content and when it comes to the language that you're using, especially if you're writing a blog post or an email and you don't really want people to be navigating away because they're confused or overwhelmed by the language that you're using. And so, you can highlight over certain words that they're indicating are complex, and then they'll give recommendations like you can use instead of utilize a shorter word in place of a purple one. Additionally, they'll also indicate when sentences are hard or very hard to read. This one's a tough one for me because sometimes I am writing, pretty research heavy language, and it's just not possible to make every single sentence short enough by their guidelines. But if it is really helpful, because if you're seeing that a good majority of your sentences are hard to read, you need to go in there and make sure that you're shortening those sentences, you're using less complex language, and kind of going in and being aware of how hard it is to read your content. And a good way to do that is also to just read it out loud, right? But Hemingway App can help you. For example, you see this red sentence here. You see a red highlight. Your sentence is so dense and complicated that your readers will get lost trying to follow its meandering, splitting logic. Try editing the sentence to remove the red. Wow. Even just reading it out loud, you kind of like run out of breath as you are trying to do that. So as you edit it, and I can go in and try and edit this to make it a little shorter, you'll notice that the red will disappear, or maybe it'll turn to yellow, which means it's a little bit less complex. So if you see a red highlight, your sentence is dense and complicated. Period. Your readers will get lost trying to follow its meandering, splitting logic. Instead, try editing this sentence to remove the red. Boom, the red is gone. Obviously, I want to spend a little bit of time just making sure that makes sense, but it is really, really helpful as well. What I also love about the Hemingway app is it shows you your readability. So like I said, you really want to make sure that your language is as easy, as complex free as you can make it. And so your readability level, ideally you want it at that grade 8 or 9 or below, which the Hemingway app is great about showing as well. All right, my next tool that I want to show you guys is called QText. Also a free tool. All of these tools are free. Although, like I mentioned with the headline analyzer, there might be some options to upgrade for further functionality. But the QText one is completely free, and it is a great plagiarism checker. And the reason why this one is on my list is not because I'm out here, actively plagiarizing people's work, but I do write, and other folks do as well, which is why I'm sharing it, very researched, very, very research heavy content, meaning that I am doing a lot of research before I'm writing. And I want to make sure that the language that I'm using as part of, the reading that I'm doing didn't directly, with accidentally kind of copy anything that I was reading as part of my research. Similar to kind of any content that you're going to put out, you just want to make sure that you're checking your work and making sure it's your language, it's your words, and not anyone else's. And sometimes that's hard to do if you are, like I said, writing kind of more of a research heavy piece. And so as you can see, what you'll do is you'll type in or copy and paste in the content that you want checked into this text box here. And then once you hit search, it's going to show a page similar to this, where it's going to underline in orange. This is a blog post that I recently wrote for my personal Medium page. And it's going to underline in orange where it's seeing matches or hits for plagiarism online. So it's searching the interwebs, finding similar language. So for example, the title of this blog post is How to Promote Your Business with Content Marketing. This is a phrase that has been used, how to promote your business, Morgan through the statement, blah, blah, blah. It looks like smallbiztrends.com. I'm not too worried about this, just because I don't think this is language that I'm necessarily stealing from Small Biz Trends. It was something I came up with on my own, but helpful to know. In today's world, you're not just a business, you have to be a media company. It looks like we got a hit there. To be in the media business, you have to be a media company. Not quite the same. I didn't get that exact language from this website here, so it's not something I feel like I need to credit. But you can get the point where it highlights for you, hey, flagging that this might be related to something else. It gives the percentage like 63% similar. If something is 100% similar, then you 100% probably need to make sure that you're crediting the work, or maybe doing the due diligence that you need to in this instance to say, hey, I copied someone's language here. I need to go back in and make sure this language is completely my own and not taking from someone else. The tool does offer that opportunity to go in and has a citation assistant so that you can go in and make sure that you are accurately, by MLA, APA, or Chicago formats, crediting and citing that other author's work or other author's words, especially if you are putting them in quotes or something like that. You want to make sure that you're properly citing. And so that's why I really love this tool. I feel like it's all in one. It's super easy to use, and it allows you to just go right in there and see where you might need to cite sources to ensure that you're not plagiarizing someone else's work. Okay. And then the last tool that I want to show you guys is Grammarly. Grammarly is, as the name suggests, a grammar tool. So it helps you identify where those misspellings, where those grammar errors might be, from everything from verb tense to how to spell things, as well as I love that it lets you kind of identify whether something is more meant to be general, knowledgeable, the formality, allow for certain slang language or kind of casual phrases. And then for their premium version, which I use their free version and find that it works just fine, but you can get additional functionality through the premium version. So pretty much what it's going to do is highlight on the right for you, and it is a extension. So I actually have it as part of my Google Docs, which is what I use for all editing and all writing. And you can actually go in and seek out where the errors are and make those changes to your text. So it's going to get rid of commas, add punctuation, make sure there's not extra spaces where there shouldn't be. It might even make recommendations for ways that you can add in more language to make things more clear. It really is a great plugin to have as you're writing and after you're writing to check your grammar, which is a great tool.
And that's all, guys. Like I said, this is just a quick video for me to share my 5 favorite tools that I'm using pretty much almost every time that I am writing content. I'm not maybe using them every single time, but they are definitely the ones that I have bookmarked on my laptop for frequent use. So I hope you enjoyed this. I hope this was helpful. Let me know what tools you all are using as part of your everyday writing experience, either for your personal or for your business writing. I'd love to hear it. Drop it in the comments below. below. Share those with me. I'm going to add them to my list. Thank you very much. But anyways, have a great rest of your day. Thank you for watching, and hope you tune in to other videos on my channel for additional writing, content marketing, and copywriting support.